Hey everyone, welcome
Hello.
to, I guess, the first episode of the Reseller Buzz Session. We're so excited to be here. And I hope you liked the intro. We were really proud of it.
Oh yeah. I'm so excited for all of the amazing things that we have here. And I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is going to be the first of many. So we have a lot to discuss tonight. There's been so much going on in the reseller community.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with a little backstory is like who we are, if you don't know, and you're brand new to this. Maybe just follow us on Instagram when you heard about it and you're here. And then we'll talk about how we got even into this reseller buzz session, how it even came about. And then we'll dive into all the things. We have topics that we want to talk about with you guys, but I guess I'll start first. So hello to everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Daniela. I have been reselling since I was 16 years old, but reselling as, I guess, a way to make money, like a real job kind of thing, since 2018. Started this YouTube channel probably 2 years ago or so. Sell on Poshmark, eBay. The Real is kind of my three main places that I like to be. And met Ashley. Oh, goodness.
It's been a
I
minute.
don't even know how long ago it's been. Maybe 2 or 3 years.
Probably at this
for a
point,
while. And we're friends outside of like the Instagram space. We have phone conversations and stuff, text messages. And yeah, so I have a podcast called Thrifters Villa, which has been around for almost 4 seasons, which is crazy. We're going into our fourth season starting December 31st.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a social media presence. You guys might know me as Ivy and Blush on Instagram. And yeah, I just kind of like to share my experiences not being a full-time reseller, like I guess in the traditional sense, more of just doing this while having a full-time job outside the home and trying to be successful, right? Navigating the ways of it all. Your turn, Ashley.
Perfect. So if you guys don't know me, I go by Ashley Wheeler of 8 on Instagram, on YouTube. And then I have sold on Poshmark, eBay, and really over the course of the last couple of years have been dabbling into live sales in different formats. And I have been selling my family's clothing very loosely in like about 2017. Really started to realize that there is actually people who go out and find clothing and shoes and accessories for really affordable prices and then flipping it online. And I was like, wow, that sounds easy and fun. I mean, I've definitely learned over the years that it's not as easy as maybe I thought it was in the beginning, but I definitely love it. It's a major passion of mine. And I was able to actually go full time as a like reseller, like full-time reseller, if we coin that term that way.
I know.
Yeah,
never
like
know what to call it.
Full-time mom, part-time reseller, if we really think about it. But regardless, it was able to replace my full-time income, which I think is what we try to say when we're explaining that. That was fall of 2019 that I let go of that full-time job to pursue that. By January of 2020, I was able to replace that income. So I've done the Daniela route where I was working full-time, and I really showed that on my social medias of like how you can juggle working full-time out of the home and do your reselling business, to now that is something that I am full-time in. And then I show how I juggle family, home life with being a reseller. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So thank you guys for being here. The way this is supposed to be and what our vision is for the Buzz Session is it's a talk show, a reseller talk show mixed in with like, think of the red table, like the round table that Jada Pinkett Smith does. It's like a mix of both. So there will be times where it's just me and Ashley chatting about what's going on, our true feelings on things, kind of like what you would see on The View. And then also guests coming in for segments that we'll have separated out, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. They'll come in, we'll have a session on that, and then they will leave. So it's going to be a little bit of a mix of everything. We haven't seen anyone in the reselling space do this, so we're, I guess, the guinea pigs.
Yes, we're excited to bring it here.
Yeah, so we're going to test this out and see how it goes. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything, please leave in the chat. If you have any ideas of things that you would like to see, feel free to leave that in the chat as well. We will go back and check all of the messages that are in this live stream just to see what you guys are really looking for out there. Podcasts exist. Obviously, I have one. Instagram accounts exist, but this is like taking it to a different level. It's really, I guess, we want it to be kind of like a news source. And I guess we should explain why we wanted to do this. So Ashley was on the podcast, I don't know, beginning of summer, maybe?
Probably. I think so.
Like
yeah.
around that time before school ended. And we probably talked, the episode was probably an hour and a half, and we probably talked for almost 3 hours.
I was going to say 3 sounds about right.
So, but when we were sitting there, we were like, why? There are so many topics that we are have very similar mindsets on, but we have 2 very different experiences. Right. And instead of having like another podcast or something like that, it's like, we can't commit to anything too extreme because Ashley, as you heard, has a lot of children and is a full-time mom, worker, and all that fun stuff. And I'm also very busy. So we came up with this idea of doing a once a month live on YouTube. We both have YouTube channels, and why not have an episode once a month on my channel, Ashley's channel, however we decide to do it, and talk about the current events, what's going on, what are things that we're seeing, who can come in from the community and share their experiences and knowledge on different areas and kind of form a little community on here. I do know some people that watch us on YouTube aren't on Instagram, aren't on social media. So you may not know what's happening in that realm and vice versa, right? So this was kind of our way of bringing everyone together and having a little fun with it. And it will advance as it goes on. Who knows? It might turn into its own channel. But for right now, we're going to keep it small. And we're going to keep it on each other's channels. So you'll always see on social media, or if you come to our YouTube pages, it'll be on mine or Ashley's. We're going to rotate. So it's on mine now. It'll be on Ashley's next time. But yeah, that's how the Reseller Buzz Session came about.
Right. So what is our first topic?
So our first topic today, guys, we're just going to get it out of the way because we know it's being talked about since yesterday. It's been 24 hours since this news came out, and it's about the Poshmark merger. Let's just dive into it. Leave your thoughts, how you're feeling in the comments. Ashley and I have already had conversations about this. And I personally am excited. I know people's initial reaction and Ashley's reaction was like, what the hell? What is happening? They're being bought. Posh Fest just happened. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is going to be good. Like, I'm excited about this because I did research before I jumped to conclusions. I was like, I want to check out, is it Naver? Is that how you say it? I don't know.
Probably. It's Naver. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to see what they're about. They're like Yahoo or Google, I guess. But they also invest in tech, and it's like their thing. And they really are into like live selling, and they have a messaging app and search. I mean, they're a search engine. So I'm like, all right, this could be good for Posh. Right?
Yeah. So my knee-jerk reaction, because I literally got the news 10 minutes before I was about to do a Posh show. And so I was like, oh, what a lovely sucker punch. And then I've got to come on and be like all nice and hi, let me just sell these things. Like you were saying, I didn't have time to look into it. All I saw was the big title. I had enough time to copy and paste it and turn it into a reel so more information would be getting out in the community. And I just wanted to hear people's thoughts. A lot of people swayed in the direction of wow, that's like a sucker punch. And I think because of coming on the heels of Posh Fest, people felt blindsided. They felt like, wow, why didn't you say anything at Posh Fest? But then there was another wave of people coming in going, well, I'm a lawyer, or I know the legalities of things, or this is my career, and this is why they couldn't say anything. I also come on the heels of just having experience with different executive sessions, dealing with different things where you're doing city and business business wants to be the one to say something. So city can't say something first. Otherwise business could pull a plug in your city. I've seen that in my a neighboring city to us. A Home Depot was going to go to our neighboring city, and word started to get out about it. And so Home Depot pulled the plug. So I understand some of those things that occur. And I'm like, I know those sessions, and I know you can set a timeline of when you want to release something. I guarantee Manish wasn't trying to sign these papers last week at Posh Fest. So my knee-jerk reaction was that. But I also understand stockholders a lot of them are going to lose money. So I could understand the strategy around, let's not show this at Posh Fest, because people could be upset if they are potentially losing money if they did purchase a stock. But to Daniela's point, I was like, the more I read the article, it really seems like not only are they going to be good with like searchability, the thing that we have been saying as a community that's frustrating about their platform, but it also sounds like they have expertise in the live selling opportunity. So Poshmark has already established a customer base. Whereas we do see, and we're going to talk more about it later, but the other live selling platform that's hot right now is Whatnot. They're building the customer base. So I do see that if someone is interested in doing live sales, there might be a potential of accelerated growth, because we as the United States, as Daniela mentioned to me earlier today, we're a little behind the times when it comes to retail and selling. And European countries and places like Korea have been doing this for a while. So to partner with a company that's already overseas that gets it, then I started to see the like ahas and thinking a little more analytical versus emotional as I originally did.
But it's so hard, right, to not have that instant gut reaction of, what does this mean for like my main platform? Because
Right.
it's my main platform. So what does that mean for me? Does this mean that, at the start of the new year, we're going to have brand new teams and they're going to change everything? And that's just not how business works. Like, there's going to be a time in between where staff is going to adjust to whatever they want. And these changes aren't going to happen until January anyway.
Right.
So like, as of right now, it's status quo. Like, keep doing you guys. Don't change anything. Be patient with it, see what happens. But like, I think with the direction that Poshmark is going, they couldn't stay public, because let's be real, they sucked when they were public. I'm sorry, it's true. They were just pleasing what the stockholders wanted, but they didn't have the resources to do what the stockholders wanted.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's why they were failing. Like, you didn't have the tools that you needed to keep up with the changes that were necessary, because that's what your shareholders were like, hey, listen, you want us to invest. Okay, well, this is what we need from you. So for them to say, okay, this company's going to come in, merge, buy out the stocks, and we're going to go private, makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for it. I'm curious how you guys feel. Let's go into the comments and let's see what people are saying. Robin says, I thought about it. I think it'll be good. I think Posh listened to the sellers and they did not like the stuff the shareholders were making them do. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. It's kind of like what I just said.
Right.
I definitely agree with that. And then we have Atkins Gilbert Studio. Excited to see changes Navier brings. Also, they have an awesome woman CEO. Bring it on. Love that.
That is amazing.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I love that.
I mean, like, what negative things could possibly happen? Like, hypothetically speaking, we lose all the Posh staff that's already there. Yeah, I guess. But like, is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not invested in the staff that's there. I'm going to sound so mean. I'm not invested in the staff that's there. I'm invested in the product that they deliver to the people who use it. That's what I'm invested in.
Which I think if we were talking to the staff, they would almost potentially be saying the same thing about the users, like, as much as I think a lot of people put emotion into it and want to believe that they care about our every, moment and well-being and hear our cries. I have heard constantly from the community over the last year that they have lost trust in Poshmark because it doesn't seem like they are listening. And so, it's a business. It's a transactional situation. We're all building businesses. And so at this point, thinking more logically as we are running, whether it's part-time or full-time businesses, is the right way to approach this. I know I initially go to emotion, but it was good to start to sit back and see what could the future of this be for our businesses moving forward.
Especially with the way resale is going, which we're going to talk about in our next segment that we're going to have. Yes, they are keeping all management right now. But if you have ever seen any other mergers take place, or have been well-versed in how business works, at some point in time, there will be separation, not necessarily with staff, but with the people who are at the top. So don't be surprised if Manish does decide that he's going to exit. That would not be surprising. It happens all the time when there's these kind of mergers. He may still be there in some capacity, but he may exit as the entity at the top. You just don't know. It could all stay the same or it could change. It really depends on whatever the buyout looks like, which we won't know.
And it depends on what's really happening behind closed doors that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
You know, are things really messy and someone has to come in and organize it all? And are some of the staff going to be upset that there's organization occurring? You know, there's stuff that happens like that will occur in headship. So we don't know. But at this point, yeah, that is the public statement, is that they are keeping all management. But that's just standard. You look at history of different.
That's just standard legalities. So Ashley and I are very well versed when it comes to politics. They did a very good job of covering all the basics and bases that they needed to cover. And we will see what happens with that. I don't know. I have, you know, like, I want to be very optimistic about it and say, yeah, they're all going to stay, but that I would be lying to all of you if I said that. Like, it would be nice if they did, but at the same time, the people who created Poshmark are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs build a business,
sell it,
and move on and build another one. That's kind of how it works. So I would not be surprised. They've built it up, they leave, and then they carry on and they create something else. And we may see them in some other capacity in reselling, or maybe they go a completely different route. Who knows? We have no idea what they're going to do after this. But I think, you know, it's interesting. I also want to touch that the NDA thing. Yes, there may have been an NDA in place, but don't think that this deal wasn't already happening like 6 to 8 months ago, or even 12 months ago. Like after the Q1 closings, and they had that earnings call, and it was like, whoa, things are real bad here at Poshmark. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was already in the works in like April or May, and they were finalizing it now and just kind of like kept it as hush hush as they could, because things like this don't happen this quickly.
Overnight. Things take so long. It is a process.
I know. I can see why people are mad about like the whole Posh Fest thing, like not saying anything, but business is business, guys. It's just the way it is. Okay. I think that's all really to say about the merger. We wanted to get it out there and our thoughts on it. What we really want to talk about right now is the other hot topic that's been in our community for the last couple of months, and that's live sales, whether that's Poshmark or whatnot. Now, I have never done a live sale. Ashley has done many live sales. We're going to have two very different perspectives on this. I will say that on the podcast, we have interviewed quite a few people. I say quite a few, like 3, who have been very successful on whatnot. And those episodes will be coming out within the next few weeks. And my perspective has changed a little bit also with talking to Ashley and a few other people who have had success with it. But I think my overarching idea of it has remained the same. So let's get into like whatnot, Poshmark, lives, all that kind of stuff. Live selling. I don't think it's going anywhere, period. Like, I think it's just going to continue to grow, whether we like it or not.
Right. No, I would agree.
So my other thing is, people may not know this, but whatnot has been live selling for 6, 7 years, somewhere like that, in a specific market. So they've been in trading cards, Funko Pops, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Reselling, clothing resale in live auctions is newer to whatnot, but it boomed really quickly, right? We saw it over the last 3 months. It's been crazy. It was like no one was on it to everyone is on there, whether they're selling, buying, whatever it is. So I would say the buyer pool there for clothing is majority resellers at this present moment. Doesn't mean there aren't regular buyers coming in. My initial reaction to whatnot, I couldn't stand it. Hated it. Count me out. Want nothing to do with it. And vocally said this.
Yes,
meanwhile, Ashley's reaction was completely different.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was thinking about it when you said 3 months. I was like, no, I think it's actually been 5. But
Has it really?
On what part, yeah, so it depends on what community you follow really closely. So I actually, you know, we do have like resellers that are Poshmark, and then we've got resellers that are eBay solely. And so I saw the wave of eBay sellers going in around like May, June-ish time. And so they've been around for close to like the 5-month aspect. And I ended up being really excited about it because I've tried Facebook groups because, I love being able to sell on like Poshmark and eBay. But again, being involved in my own community, I was like, man, it'd be so great if I could bring more of this product to the market, like locally, when I finally got comfortable with telling people what it was I did. But that's a different topic for a different day. So I started doing Facebook groups, but I hated that I didn't have processing opportunities. I hated that I had to try to like track down when to meet up with someone to put up an item. And then Galaxy, I think it was like galaxy.com. It came out a year ago now, and they had reached out to me and was teaching me about, they created now a full platform where you could load your items, you could sell your pieces. And I was like, this is amazing. This was basically all of the missing pieces that I was looking for from Facebook groups, but they still had flaws because I was like, well, how do I price my items? Like, where do I sell this at? And so I was trying to do things affordably, but I would end up doing an hour show and making like maybe $10, maybe $20. And I had done it a few times and I was like, okay, this is unsuccessful. I'm still out. So when Whatnot came into the picture, I was excited because there is that fear of missing out. There is that, bid wars that occur. I mean, the reality is auctions have been around for a very long time. And I know some people, again, emotionally, knee-jerk reaction is like, this is another LuLaRoe. Like, I have PTSD from this. I'm not touching that. But I think it's because, again, we're in the US. And so that's what we saw of live sales. But once again, in European countries, this has been happening for a long time. I don't doubt for a second that network business was like, oh, hey, this is being successful over here. Let's take this and try to do this with our own business. And I feel like that was the missing link, was being able to do the auction aspect. So I got onto Whatnot. I've been able to build it, but as contrary to popular belief, I don't think you can gain a huge following just because you have a big following on a different platform. Some will come over, kind of like what you were saying earlier, like some people just follow you on Instagram. Some people just follow you on YouTube. They don't cross pollinate. And we've seen that with the statistics with TikTok. There are like, what was it? It's an absurd number. It's like 30, maybe even more % of users that are on TikTok are solely on TikTok and on no other platform.
Yeah,
so Whatnot
wild.
is its own entity that you do have to create your own store. And so that was something that I knew going in. I told myself, I'm not making an opinion of whether I'm going to continue or not for 90 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to test out different times. I'm going to test out different products. I'm going to load my store. I'm not going to load my store. I'm going to try to promote on my socials. I'm not going to promote. Like, I did so much through that time just to see what works and what doesn't work. And then, obviously, then we started to see that Posh shows were coming in the way. So to your point, I definitely was very excited because it's been something that I've been trying to find how to do over the course of the last few years.
You brought up Facebook selling, and I completely forgot that was and still is a thing. I know a couple of people who are very successful as resellers doing these Facebook group selling things. So there's like a main hubs, so there might be like a main hub of some sort of like a specific area, right? Let's say New York City. And there's groups of resellers that go into this hub and they live sell all different things. Like, 9 o'clock is one person, 10 o'clock is another person, 11 o'clock is, whatever. And it continues on. There's like a whole payment system involved in it. Like there's sophisticated Facebook groups out there that do this. But that all became a thing because of the LuLaRoes, or what was that other company where the pearl, you could pick a pearl and then you could get like an earring.
That's still on TikTok. In fact, I saw someone the other day, the people are doing it with like rings. Like it almost looks like the little like fizz ball, and then they like dissolve it, and then they bring out like what's the little gem.
Oh, so it's a little different now.
It's a little different. Of course. It was successful in one thing, so people have to kind of, clone it to another business model.
That athletic brand, Zaya, is that how you say it? ZYIA?
Oh.
It's an MLM. It is an MLM, but it's a Facebook thing.
Yes. Same with Jamboree, but it wasn't like a live selling though.
No, it wasn't like you go to the stream and I don't know, but it was like a very similar thing. So yeah, I forgot that those things existed. Never participated in any of those, but they continue to not participate in any live selling. But I'm gonna back up why I don't participate in live selling. I think that when it first came out, my immediate reaction was, well, what the hell? I don't have time to do any of this, period. Like, I don't have time to, I don't know, prep for all of that with everything else that I do. Like I like to have my free times. Like I have very designated days within my week that I do nothing related to reselling. I don't talk to anyone. Like I am like focused on what it is that I want to do for myself, whatever that is. I think that's so important when you are working outside the home, trying to maintain a family life, trying to do all these other things that happen in life and run a business. Like at some point, you have to set up a boundary for yourself and say, I will watch from the sidelines, I will support, but I am not participating in this. And
Right.
that was kind of like my mindset because I know me. And if you know me, you know that I'm going to do everything because that's just who I am as a person. I can't do that. If I
Right.
start getting invested into live selling, forget it. Like I will
Mhm.
have zero free time because that is all I'm going to focus on and I'm going to lose focus on other things. And I'm
Oh,
doing
yeah.
so
You'll go
well.
all in. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I am doing so well with the systems I have in place. When I am ready to add in live selling, I'm not. I used to say I wasn't going to do it. I have come to terms over the last couple of months that if I were to do it, when I do decide to try it, I would do it like a once a month drop. And it's like, here are the things that I have to offer and kind of hype it up that way.
Right.
But I would not be doing it on Whatnot. I'd be doing it on Posh because
Mhm.
all my inventory is there regardless. I just like how streamlined that would be for me since that's my platform. And I like the buyer pool that's there. I'm sorry, the buyer pool is totally different. And to be honest, if eBay live selling, which is a thing, guys, if you watched eBay Open, you know eBay live
Oh,
selling
I'll
is in
jump over there
beta.
and try it too. 100%.
100% will do eBay. Like that one, I have no question in my mind that I would do
Yeah.
because of the market that's there. Like to me, that's just a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
International shipping, and they're actually revamping their global shipping program to make it better.
Yes.
Like, hands down. I mean, I know Whatnot already has that portion, but, like, the pricing is still bad. Like, they're still trying to negotiate their shipping discounts and stuff like that with USPS. So, no, I totally agree. The minute I started to hear that eBay was looking at that, I was like, "Oh, 100%." And actually, I was trying to look on Google to see more information about eBay Open, like, when is it actually going to drop? And I realized they actually already do like auctions with artwork where they were doing lives. So I think they've been trying to do it in different categories and then just getting the hang of it with like bringing it more to the masses with all of their categories. And I know someone had mentioned, remember eBay used to be auctions only. I think
Mhm.
there is still something different though about a standing, like almost, it kind of reminds me of like a silent auction where
Yes.
you see the item and you can auction on it versus this is live. I actually decided to sit in my live room today so you guys could see my little setup. It's different when I can hold a piece, pull on it to show you its stretch, be able to describe how it would look in someone's like wardrobe if they wore it like this or this. That's something I can't describe in a description. And in fact, if I put that in a description, probably no one's going to read it anyways. It's just a waste of time. So that is something that I do like about the live action portion versus just doing like a silent auction or a standalone listing.
Yeah, and I think the other part about live sales, like pros and cons, right? Like let's no matter what the controversy is with a live sale, and I think this will be great for people outside of like the modern clothing realm because there's only so much you can say about a modern clothing piece or shoe. Like it's
Right.
modern, it's not exciting. But if you sell vintage, if you sell I don't know, in a specific niche, if you have a very special luxury piece, you can give real time one-on-one like information about it. You can share
Mhm.
history about it, something because most people will listen to it, many people will not read it. Like you can put it in a description all you want, but I can
Right.
guarantee you most people, unless they're a collector, is not going to read it.
Right.
So I think seeing the visual aspect of seeing it and then hearing it, it's dual modality of learning and experiencing stuff.
Right.
So I think there's something to be said about people that are in these more niche markets like
Right.
vintage. I think if you're a vintage seller, like it's exciting to have live sales. You can actually show the appreciation the piece deserves.
Right. Well, and I also think as you do live sales, based on what my experience so far, both on Whatnot and on Poshmark, I know someone also mentioned earlier they saw me in a Posh live sale, and it made me excited. I wanted to immediately like reply to it, but I'm starting to see. continue or like returning customers. Why? Because they're getting me. Previously it was my store and you saw my picture, but now they're getting to talk to me. Now they're getting to ask questions. Now I'm describing a piece and explaining how, kind of like what you were saying, even though we do have modern thrift or maybe,
Yeah.
what was it, modern new and thrifted category, that sometimes I'm like, man, this piece reminds me of this movie. This piece reminds me of this trend that's occurring right now. And sometimes I'll go into a story, or one time I had someone's name pop up and I was like, oh, so and so, like, congratulations on your win. And I was like, oh my gosh, as a child, my two best friends and I, we wrote a book together and we had like our own little like character names, and one of my friends' names was your name. And I was like, I haven't thought about that in years. So I started to realize like I'm getting a lot of returning customers because they're starting to get to know the name behind the brand, the
Yeah.
brand, if you will. So I do think that's another positive if you are comfortable being your face to your brand, your store, if you will.
How would you compare, since I haven't done it, but like how would you compare the experience as a seller between Posh shows and whatnot? Now, Posh shows is in beta and it's new and they're developing it and they're doing updates. I mean, they did promise updates and they already did it. So
Yeah.
I am very optimistic with what they're doing.
Yeah. Both of them have their pain points and their positives. So initially, I was pretty big, and I have a video coming out comparing the two a little more in depth. So I'll do kind of a very highlight reel, if you will, segment for this. But initially on Whatnot, I was like, if you're talking to a reseller, you're going to attract resellers. What do I mean by that? We know Free People's MSRP is typically 125, 150, or
Yeah.
no, 128, 158, like those sort of numbers. As a reseller, that means nothing to us.
Right.
But as a customer who loves Free People, if I say this item sells for $158 to start, we're going, or like regularly, we're going to start this at 10. They're like, oh, that's a steal. And that item will bid up more, and you might see it go for 25, go for 50. If it's a good, unique piece or something that someone wants, could go even higher than that. But after a certain point, a reseller will stop bidding because they're
Yeah.
like, I can't flip it for it to go much higher. And I would watch shows of people going, let's do a mystery box, and you're going to get a ton of items if you just bid this up, and it's going to be varying brands, varying sizes. Okay, well, you're attracting resellers, you're not attracting customers. And some people will be like, this is a great item to flip. Well, what does a customer know about flipping something?
Yes. Oh my, I've seen so many people do this in a show, Ashley, and I'm like, so who are you trying to sell to?
Yeah, 100%. And so I see the community getting frustrated going, there's only resellers here. Well, there's only resellers because that's who you're talking to. You're
Yeah.
not talking to a customer. I had BCBG in here today. That brand is starting to like flatline for me when it comes to like reselling, but I was hounding it up going, this brand normally, like this dress retails for like $300. It's a really expensive one. And it ended up going up for higher. So I think that it's the way that you're talking about your products is what you're going to attract. So Whatnot, though, I am beginning to see a like big boom. There's a big bubble happening right now. There are so many people that are coming to the platform wanting to sell, and listening to all the people that have been training, how do you do Whatnot? They're like, get in other people's shows, help them out, like help mod, if they're willing to let you share your show, share your show. So I'm finding that my numbers might stay higher, but I have less people in there actually interested in my pieces and more interested in promoting themselves. And it's a little frustrating. I think that I'm starting to see more of the, I just see a decline in sales because of that. Even though they're still engaging and commenting, I think that we're seeing a mass amount of people wanting to sell right now. And so they're doing the legwork, which I was there. I get that. But I am seeing a decline in pricing because of that. And every person, if you hang out there for a while and you pop around on different shows, you might have a Lululemon on this show, Lululemon on this show. This one started at $5. This one starts at $50. You're going to start figuring out what shows you want to go to. So I think there's that element that's occurring as well. I think that you're the face and you still can create a brand and people might follow you just to follow you. We see that a lot in the community too, good and bad. But I think that there is kind of that occurring right now. I don't want to neglect it. That is the one thing I will say. I think that it's still necessary to show up there, but I'm seeing now Poshmark has established a customer base. They've done that for 6 years. But holy cow, you want to know what else they've taught their customers? They've taught their customers that they can bundle shipping. So I can't tell you, I just finished a show. I have 5 messages asking me if I will cancel all of their orders, relist everything, so that way they can bundle the pieces together. And I explained
what a nightmare.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I can't do that for everyone. Like, I love you. Thank you for returning, but I can't do that for everyone. And I just explained, like, Poshmark is going to bring this out. It is a wave that's going to occur. They're going to do bundled shipping. They just haven't yet. And I feel bad because I'm like, this sucks for the person, but that's why I'm dropping my prices down, because I'm thinking strategically, they've got to pay $7 for shipping. So this needs to make sense for them and how they're going to buy this item. But yeah, that's so both pain points, right? They have really good positives about them, but they also are going through their growing spurts, if you will, right now.
Yeah. If you guys who are watching have done either one or have questions about Poshmark or whatnot, please leave them in the comments. We will answer them right now. Don't feel like because this is like a talk show style, you guys can't do typical YouTube-y things. Do all the YouTube-y things, please. Like, do
we
it.
love that. We love them.
Yeah. I can. My number one hesitancy, I should say, with Whatnot was what you just said, is that the pool was predominantly resellers, and it continues to be predominantly resellers in our niche, in the clothing, thrifted, modern realm. Where on Poshmark, our follower count actually kind of matters now.
Finally. Yeah.
Right? Like all those things that we did when we first started in 2016, 2015, or later, like those things all matter now. So it all makes sense. Like we have tools now to reach out to all of those customers. It would be great to have a tool to reach out to all the followers, like a ping or something that can happen. Like, and I'm sure those are all things that they've talked about. But this is where I can see Whatnot becoming lower on people's totem pole when it comes to live selling.
If you've built other platforms.
Right. If Poshmark and eBay continues to do what they're doing and really utilizes all the features that they have, it will make more sense for sellers to kind of merge all of that on there and maybe be on Whatnot to cater to a specific market if you're liquidating or whatever it is, right? But I just think I've even noticed it in Posh shows that I've watched that the average selling price is much higher because you're having a regular buyer come in and say, oh, I was actually looking at that in her store. And instead of paying the $75 it's listed at, I'll bid and see if I can get it at 45 or something. It's basically them putting in an offer, but it's in live format. And you just don't know what it's going to end at, kind of thing, right? So, I mean, I think there is the intrigue there. And I don't know. I do think it's interesting that people like you who have done both are kind of saying the same thing, that it is becoming a little more frustrating or difficult on Whatnot to kind of see that same result as you did maybe a month ago.
Well, I think there's a lot more legwork that has to work on Whatnot. You know, like today I threw a show together really fast. I didn't put photos in it. I didn't promote it really on my social media, like very loosely did I. Normally I also add a story. So Whatnot has, very similar to any platform at this point, has the like story feature where you can add in, you know, most people show like, thank you for, you know, show a picture package. Thank you for all of the orders from the sale, yada, yada. But if you put a story up, when you go live, if someone follows you, it'll show up on their top feed and it'll have this little red button, kind of similar to here on YouTube, where it says live. And so that's a strategy I've used in the past too, where it's like, if it's the day I'm going to go live, I'm putting stories up because that you have a higher likelihood that people would see that. And so you have to just think strategically. There's things that you have to learn about Whatnot to get seen and get recognized. Kind of going back to, is there still customers there or not on Whatnot? There was one day that I was watching one of my friends, and she had this gorgeous, gorgeous St. John's Nua tags, like trench coat style in the back. The coat retailed for like $1,500, if I remember correctly. And she was so nervous to list it or to put it up for an auction because she was so afraid there was only resellers there. And she's like, this is worth so much more. I don't know how I feel. So she finally, at the end of the show, like ran it. And she was expressing it all through the show. And when she put it live, They bid it up. I think it went to about 500. And granted, she didn't
Wow.
spend a whole lot on the P. Like she spent a lot, but average sales price is different for people. It could be a lot, could be a little compared to some people. But the person actually commented in the section and said, "I'm a customer. I actually have no idea what you're talking about." And I was like, that is the golden rule right there. Like you were so
Yes.
afraid that there's a bunch of resellers here, but here there was a customer this whole entire time that just wanted it and saw the value that they're going to get maybe $1,000 off of this beautiful coat. So I think that Whatnot's not going in there. We know that. And the other categories I think are going to continue to explode. But I think strategy wise, you have to be very strategic in how you're continuing on with Whatnot, and just understand if you've been around the reseller community for a while, how long did it take you to have good success on eBay? How long did it take
Mm-hmm.
you to have good success on Poshmark? You can't make like one live and go, "This sucks. I ain't doing this. This is horrible." We all had to start somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the aspect, is if you continue to treat it like a business and you show up weekly, or maybe you have a like one day that you show up all the time, or once a month, like you were mentioning, kind of like what we're going to do with this show,
Mm-hmm.
people start to know that. It's like their favorite TV show that they can keep coming back to. If you
Yeah.
keep showing up, then people will eventually show up. But you've got to go through the risk process. And some people aren't ready to take that risk.
Hot topic. Ready? People who started live selling and neglected every single thing related to reselling and only did that. I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with that.
And I don't know how you guys feel in the chat too. Let us know. But I have a real problem with that. And that is a business decision that people made. And that's fine. You are your own entity and you can do what you
Right.
want. But man, oh man, why would you put yourself in that position?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
would you ever do that? Especially if reselling is your livelihood and that is how you pay your bills. What if any of these platforms were to shut down tomorrow and you don't have any other way of like, now you're going to go through all your inventory. You've got to have to list everything. We all know how long algorithms work. It doesn't like magically happen day one. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's not how it happens. Especially if it's like an eBay, forget it.
Oh, yeah.
Forget it. You're not going to be making sales for like 2 months, my friend. I'm sorry, but that's just the way that it goes. So you neglect everything else, and now you're at a point where maybe you're in the situation that Ashley was saying, and it's like, well, there's a lot of resellers and there's really not that many buyers the way that I need it for my business. So now I got to kind of rely on these platforms again. Well, but I haven't done anything. So I got to do all that stuff.
Well, or even take it a step further. You're sick. You have no voice.
Uh-huh.
You are someone who has kids and they get sick. Like it would be, at least thank goodness. I see so many people when they're like sick, they're like, thank goodness for eBay. I can just sit here with my laptop and list some items. You can ship items when you're not feeling so good, just hand sanitize in the process, being live like that. But we need to bring this full circle and say, whatever you can hold on your plate, just like Danielle was saying, I can't add anything else. Honestly, guys, I could have been on Whatnot 2 months prior, but my husband was doing fire season. And I was like, to my capacity right now, I am being a single mom, and I'm managing social media, and I'm managing Poshmark and eBay. I have no capacity for live sales. I want to do it. I can't do it right now. So I think you do need to understand what can you hold in your plate. But yeah, don't neglect one platform over another that maybe you've built. If you're just getting started and you want to play around with stuff, by all means, like get started on Whatnot, but start to think about those things. If you haven't taken that into consideration, like, well, what happens if I want to do a vacation? Do I have to bring all my inventory to a live
What if
sale?
you go on vacation for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? You're going to live sell on your vacation? So then you're not on vacation now.
You're right. Yeah.
You're no longer on vacation. You're working. You just happen to be in a different destination. So I think I just think it's an important factor to consider. So Robin says, I got motivated from my Whatnot sales. What didn't sell that was in my death pile was now out and in my face and made me list it on Vendu. So yeah, I mean, there are positive things that come from this live selling. And this is an example of that.
Right.
I think if you are liquidating or you're trying to condense what you have or figure out like what maybe you don't want to sell in a certain category anymore or whatever that is, like this is the perfect way to do that because you have no idea who you're selling to. You might be making a reseller real happy getting rid of a bunch of stuff because now this is their bread and butter. This is what works for them. Or there's a customer that's been looking for something like that, or they're just looking to spend some money on themselves. So there's so many different ways to look at it. But I think if you're trying to clear a little bit of space, like this is a great way to do it because it's volume done quickly. It's
Right.
not volume waiting for the platform to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the
Well,
difference
and
there.
this would be a really good time to talk about what you start items at, because like she was saying,
Yes.
clearing out your death pile. I think people thought the minute they started Whatnot, or really any live selling platform, you don't have to start at one. You don't have to start at
Mhm.
$1. And when you start to take into consideration the fees, and especially on on Whatnot, PayPal's charge, they do a 30-cent flat rate per every transaction. That $1 suddenly gets eaten up like 30
Wow.
cents.
Per transaction? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and I forgot about that, because recently I was looking, because everyone, when Posh shows came into the picture, they're like, but they take so much in fees.
But do they
And,
really?
well, and that's the point. And I go a little more in depth with this on my YouTube video. But when you take into consideration the 8% that Whatnot does, then the 2.5 or 2.9 that PayPal does in percentage, plus the 30-cent transaction fee, that gets to be a lot more in percentage when it's lower that something sells for, versus if it does sell for $20 or $25. Yeah, it starts to look more like that. But when I started to look back at my shows, I was hitting about 15, 16%. Also, giveaways, you have to pay for shipping. So if you add that into the percentage, it's about 15, 16% sometimes in my shows that is getting eaten up by different fees. Suddenly that 20% doesn't seem like a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I think, well, the other thing too, so shipping, right? So the first item you buy, let's say you purchase, I don't know, a heavy shoe, whatever kind of shoe it is, but it's going to cost $9 to ship. Well, that's way more than if you would have just done a Posh show and bought it on Poshmark, because that's just $7.99 flat no
Right.
matter what, right?
Mhm.
And okay, the bundling feature isn't there. So now on Whatnot, you can bundle and get cheaper shipping and everything. But it's just, it kind of equals out to be the same thing. And like the giveaway culture is fascinating to me. Like I understand why people do it to entice people to stay and all of that, but like that's a big expense as a seller to have to take
You
on
have to
unless
take
you're
that
getting
into account.
things in liquidation or a company's giving it to you. Like that's a big expense.
Hmm. Well, and that's a really good point, because I don't think enough resellers, which again, the buzz session, we really want to talk about topics that aren't getting talked about. You
Yeah.
see a lot of higher resellers and you're like, man, they're giving away these amazing things. Like, do I have to pay full price to give away stuff like that to compete with them? They're not getting it at full retail price. They're
Correct.
looking for the clearance racks. They're looking for liquidation. They're looking for, I want to do stuff on Black Friday. I'd love to pick up some stuff on Black Friday and then just have some enticement on, different price shows or stuff like that. But I'm being strategic with it too. I'm not trying to buy these things at full price. And so if you're looking at them thinking that's how you need to compete, don't do it. That's not the right way to look at it. Try to find other alternatives, and it's okay with whatever you can give as a price point if you want to, but don't feel pressured to have to do that.
Yeah, I don't think like if you haven't tried live selling and you want to, but you're afraid of the whole giveaway thing, don't do one. Who
Yeah.
says you have to do one? There's no rule that says you need to do a giveaway in every live show. No, you don't.
Not even
No,
on
you don't.
Poshmark. I mean, Poshmark, they had us do, which still need to reach out to Poshmark to figure that out. I was supposed to give away like 3 Starbucks gift cards. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys are supposed to like get that information at that point, but they don't have a way for us to do giveaways right now. We could do price shows, like, ship something else in with an item if it goes past a certain point, which is what I'll probably do tomorrow for my birthday. But that was kind of a Whatnot thing, and my sales have been doing just fine on Poshmark without having anything I'm having to give away.
Yeah, and the other thing, so that reminds me, you saying that made me think of, remember like a few years, well, really, we'll say like 5 years ago, where on Poshmark people would like go to Dollar Tree or something and like
Dude,
pick
I
up your,
started like that. Yes, I
yes.
remember that.
I hated when people sent me stuff. I was like, please don't send me this because
Like
everything smells like
confetti
whatever's in
and
this box.
glitter.
Yes. Yes. Like, and then people got away from it. Like, it's an extra expense. If you're selling high profit things and you feel like you want to do a giveaway, fine. But I will tell you, because I watch a lot of luxury shows, not one luxury seller does a giveaway. Not one. You buy the items, And that's it. That's how it goes. They give you a nice little show. That's about it. They'll give a history on the piece and all that. You're not getting anything for free because the pieces that
Mhm.
they have already cost them a lot of money, and that's their bottom line. It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I understand why people do it. And if you do it, great, and it works for you, that's amazing. But like, don't feel like you have to because you see all of these larger sellers doing it, whoever they are out there. There's so many large sellers out there. I don't even know, like, I can't even name them anymore. There's so
No,
many.
we can't keep up 100%. There's people
No.
that I don't know that are making 6, 7 figures as a reseller, and we have no idea what their names are because they're not on social media. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's a lot.
And a lot of those people, and like Ashley said, they're getting it some other way that we probably wouldn't as the average everyday reseller. I'm going to go to the comments here. I love that there's a mix of resellers, some who jump in and try new platforms and some that hold back and wait and see. Still others who stay put where they're successful. Let's be real. Amazon sellers are not jumping on live sales.
No.
They're not doing it, especially right now going into quarter 4. Absolutely not.
They've had a plan like 6 months ago. Like they ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, like and Amazon, I guess, has a live selling feature to it.
We do.
You never see it. Like, I don't know who does it. I don't care. Like, I'm on Amazon to buy what I need and I'm off. Like, that's just how it works. But I think it's true. I think there's just a place for everyone, and you don't have to fit in the specific molds because one reseller is doing it and you may admire that reseller. So you're like, okay, well, they're having really good success and I got to go do that too. Like, just gather all the information and figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. People love anything free. I got cute socks at the dollar store. Yeah, like that's a great way to acquire things too. I'm not knocking that when I said that thing before.
Yeah.
But that was just like, that's what Poshmark was known for, was you opened up a package, you had no idea what surprise you're getting inside. Glitter, confetti, whatever it was going to come popping out at you.
No, but I agree with her. Like, people do love free stuff. And I remember one time I did a Princess Polly and Wild Fox whatnot show. And I specifically said, if an item gets to $25, you get like a gift bag and, you know, we can open it up. And I know because when I actually started on whatnot, like watching, I was a part of like what is it called? The Disney Anna or something category, like the collectibles where people are doing
I was like, I have no idea what you're
lounge
talking about.
bags, like exclusive backpacks. And like one of the shows specifically, someone would buy up a bag and then inside they would have like Disney exclusive pins or headbands. And so suddenly this bag that retailed for $75 is going up to $150 because they're like, oh, I want to see what surprise is inside. So yes, 100%. I do agree that there are people that do love free stuff. And so if you can be strategic with that and you have the capital to do that, by all means, like I love giving away stuff. And so that is actually something, again, this is why I love doing this with Daniela, because we both have different perspectives on things.
We're both very different people. We may be good friends, but we are very different.
But it's so good because then we can talk about these things and have strong opinions. And then we're like, you know, I hear your thoughts and I love that.
Yeah, I hear you. I still disagree with you, but I do hear you. I learned first from Mogi. We love Mogi here. So shout out to Mogi. She did none of the extras on Posh, like thank you cards and little silly presents, glitter and whatnot. Yeah. Mogi's not about that either. And
she's always about her bottom line. Always.
Yes. And I appreciate that about her because even though she is a larger seller, right, and she has a larger following and she has a big YouTube channel and she is very successful as a reseller, she does not follow what everyone else is doing. She will investigate and she'll learn and she'll inquire and she may try it. But like, if it doesn't fit her business, she's not doing it. Right. And I appreciate that about her. She doesn't, I guess, follow the trend of what we see within that influencer space, right? We see in bloggers, one blogger does something, all the bloggers do it. Like it, and I appreciate people that can kind of stand out and say, oh, I mean, I see what's happening, but I'm good where I'm at.
Well, and I think a little off topic, but just kind of to that point, you know, trend, we've learned on Instagram for Instagram Reels and TikToks, oh, we need to be trendy. We need to be doing the trendy thing. You know, makeup industry is big on that. Like how were you going to get recognized? We'll start like copying some of the trends. And so we see that in the reseller community too, where like what's new, what's trending, we got to try it out. We got to think it out. But if you are trying to, you know, make a certain amount of money, are you trying to pay your mortgage monthly? Are you trying to, you know, do a side bill or vacation? If you've got goals like that, focus, stay in your lane and just do it hard.
Mhm.
To that point, actually, one of my really good friends, they live in Washington. It's her and her husband that do a business. They have an eBay store. They were on Poshmark, but they started to realize how much time was being taken away from that. So now they're solely eBay sellers and they sell only bottoms,
Huh.
jeans, leggings, pants. They make anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a month.
What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like,
Anything is possible if you stay in your lane
crazy.
and you focus,
I
you
mean, it's
know?
true. It's very true. Also time that I don't have
Yeah, or
to
just
acquire all the
another a
inventory
bead.
necessary for $25,000 a month. What I have in here is not gonna give me $25,000 a month unless I have a very wealthy individual from Beverly Hills that wants to buy everything else, then that's great. Contact me outside of Poshmark and we'll make a deal, but, like, not happening. All right. I think that's a lot on live. We knew this topic was going to take a long time,
Yeah,
but we
100%.
do want to talk about the thing that just happened last week, and that is Posh Fest. Ashley was there. We do want to give a little recap. We know people have already done recaps out there, but we kind of have our own takes on stuff, and
Right.
wanted to share that. How excited were you to be back at Posh Fest and kind of experience that and be with people? I know you stayed in an Airbnb with a bunch of
Airbnb.
people too, so why don't you share
You
that?
know, when Posh announced that they were gonna be doing Posh Fest, didn't wanna go. Had no desire to go. I've already been on the fence. I had actually, if you haven't followed me on YouTube or Instagram, I actually closed my Poshmark store in April because of how bad the search was, and that we talked about that a lot in the podcast when I came on.
Mhm.
But then I started to bring it back because I was bringing some strategy again, not just throwing everything at Poshmark. I'm like, let's see what to do. It was my friends saying that they were going getting an Airbnb that I said, okay, that's a networking opportunity and just a relationship builder that I don't want to miss out. That's like a once in a year opportunity. I will go. But then I had gotten that email that Poshmark was doing the Posh Show beta. Well, they said a beta new feature. Are you interested? So none of us knew what the feature was going to be, and then pursue that further. And so it was a great opportunity to get in on something that had I not, my first knee jerk reaction of not going, I would have missed out on. But
Yeah.
then going to Posh Fest, I actually, like the week of, I was actually very interested because knowing they just released that, I was like, what's going to come of this? Are they going to bring more features in? I got to talk to they call it the App Me Anything table, where you can basically talk to some of the developers and ask questions. And I was like, oh, I'm going to hound you guys about some things. But yeah, so that was kind of my initial thoughts was I'm going into network. But then when they released this feature, I'm like, okay, you might actually bring some value to me. But I still try to keep an open mind because my thoughts are if you go in with like closed arms like this, like I'm not going to learn anything. Well, you're right. You're not going to learn anything. But if you're willing to say like, I'm open to hearing, you can learn something. And I actually did. There was a couple workshops that I felt like they finally were getting a little more in depth of like how to get business capital here legally. How should you facilitate a business? Like they've never really catered to
Yeah.
full-time sellers before, like dabbled like a little sprinkle, but like this was a little more in depth this time. And I was like, I'm impressed. The one thing I wasn't a fan of was how short it was. I felt like we were getting really good into talking about social media or YouTube or whatever, and then be like, oh my gosh, time is up. Like, go on to your other workshop. It's like, I would have stayed here all day and been content as a clam. So I do feel
Yeah.
like they try to give you enough and then they don't like fully provide everything.
So you've attended real conferences, right? Like real life business conferences. And I have attended many myself. And I don't know how long the sessions are at Posh Fest. So but a
Feels like
lot of
45 minutes, maybe.
okay. All right. So, depending on the type of conference that you go to and they have sessions, they can be anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on whatever the topic is. It is catered to each topic. So, to make all the topics the same amount of time is silly because
Yeah,
because people can't retain and you cannot say as much as you want in that short period of time, right? Like, it's just 45 minutes is not enough to talk about the legalities of business.
right.
Absolutely not. That should be a keynote. Never mind a breakout
Oh, yeah.
session. That's a keynote.
100%. Yeah.
So I think they need to learn, Poshmark needs to learn when it comes to Posh Fest, how to actually structure a conference. What does that actually look like? And this is one of my gripes with eBay Open too. I think eBay Open is great. And I love that people are able to do presentations and they're 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes long, and they're able to cram a lot in there because of the way that they do it, the structure of how they do it. It's not a panel, it's a person giving a present, like an actual presentation. So it's a little different. But I do feel like some of the topics just are never long enough. But their keynote with their head people is like 3 hours long. And it's like, well, I don't really want to hear what you have to say all the time. I want to hear an expert and hear that part of
Right.
it. So when I was in marketing, I used to go to HubSpot. HubSpot, it's CRM tool. So it is a tool that
Okay.
has,
Yeah.
so if you're a marketing company or a business of any sort, it houses your contacts, your emails, everything, your clients, everything is in here. You create newsletters. It's your hub for everything. And every year they have, in September, they have this enormous conference in Boston because that's where they're based out of. And it's called Inbound. That's what it's called, Inbound. And
Okay.
what they do is they have a keynote in the morning where it's kind of like, they bring whoever on from HubSpot and they talk about different things. Then they have breakout sessions, which are very specific to the marketing and business realm. So one may be on email marketing, one may be on Facebook video, one may be on Instagram Reels, but they're very specific. So you can do a 45 to an hour session because they're so specific, but you can only choose, the ones that are very specific to you.
Right.
Throughout the day, though, they have keynotes on the main stage with whoever that may be. One year it was Serena Williams, Michelle Obama, like all different authors, all different people. And those were an hour and a half long. So if there were no sessions that really interested you, or the keynote speaker was more interesting because you wanted to hear their story, how they got their business going, you sat in these hour and a half sessions and you learned so much about this person. It was like it was something, it was so valuable as someone in the marketing field to hear from all of these people and how they built their own brand. And there was so much value in there. And it started at 7 a.m. and it ended at 6 p.m. And then there was like an after hours thing and everyone got together and networked. Like it was such an amazing thing I got to experience for 3 years. Every single thing I learned there, I still use today. Like I learned things from experts that you see on TV. I was in sessions with people who are enormous on Instagram. I got to have one-on-one conversations with them. Like, so when I think of conference and I think of something like a Posh Fest, like an eBay Open, that's what I want. I
Right.
want that experience. I love everyone in this community so much because I would not be where I am without them. And I know you feel the same way.
Right.
And I love networking with people and I love meeting people, but I also want to learn. So I need that from
You need
Posh Fest
both.
before I'm like, hey, I'm absolutely going to go.
Right. Well, and that was another thing that I was interested in going to this Posh Fest. When I did start to think about going, I was like, over the course of 2019, when I first went to going this year, my Instagram's grown a lot. My YouTube has grown a lot. My business has grown a lot. And there's a lot of people that I'm like, I know would probably be interested to meet me, but you need both. Like you need the filling and you need to fill out, like you need to pour out too. And so I felt like they were kind of providing a little more filling this time, but the crazy thing as well was I would say probably 75% of the conference was all new sellers. There was not a lot of like the OGs, if you will, that were there. And I think it's because of what you just expressed. They began to realize financially it doesn't make sense to go to something like that. Especially, I was thinking about this while I was down there. They put in the Posh shows, the State of the Union, and the hackathon. So I'm like, so the
Online.
main stuff, and online on YouTube. So I'm like, so the main stuff that we're buying, like we're paying to go down there to hear about, you're putting it online for free. Like, I'll figure out a different time to network with everyone. Like, I love
Yes.
seeing everyone. It's fun, but you're paying for a vacation if you are, going essentially. Or unless you're willing to dig. I reached out to certain corporate people. I went to the App Me table to ask deep questions.
Did they answer your questions though?
Huh?
Be honest.
Oh, so the App Me anything I was frustrated with because I was like, what's the timeline of certain features going out? We don't know. I'm like, you
What do
just
you
at
mean you
the
don't know?
hackathon said that this is rolling out. Do you have a timeline? Which one's first? Hey, let's be simple. Simplicity rise. Like Posh shows, they're bundling shipping. They're adding the store.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of features. I'm like, which one's first? Don't give me a date. Just which one's first? We don't know. And I was like, okay, this is where the trust is lost, you guys, because you say this on the stage and then like, you can't give me a timeline as, they were like, it's going to happen in a few months. Everything should be out within a few months. But I've had situations before where we've seen the hackathon and we're going to the next Posh Fest and a certain feature hasn't come out yet.
Save searches was mentioned 2 years ago. So example number one, and this is why like people look at them as a joke. I mean, I'm sorry. I love Poshmark. I will say that over and over again, but man, oh man, you make yourself look like it's a mockery every time.
Communicate. That's all we're asking. If you communicate, I mean, we expect this in like our family and with spouses. Like we need communication.
My full-time job.
Authenticity. Like if you say like we have to push a feature out because there's still other things that need to occur, I mean, I could speak for myself and say, yeah, I respect that. Thank you for giving that clarity, because maybe it's a feature you've been like hanging on to for 2 years and you're like, where is this? That's why I think people have lost trust in Poshmark.
Yeah. And I think it speaks volumes that there were not as many people there this year. Yeah. And I mean, the location didn't help, right? Like there was a lot of buzz over the location of where Posh Fest took place. I understand that aspect of it 100%. The cost to go there is insane as well. Like I can't afford to fly there, and then hotel, Airbnb, whatever it is, that's another cost. Then when you're there, you're going to shop, you're going to go out to eat, you're going to drink. Like it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of money. And if it were closer, like if they did it in New York or Boston, maybe I'd go. But they would really need to like ramp it up. I'd rather we had some type of like regional event every so often that they put into place, not like a posh party, just like something that someone organized on their own. And like we could all get together and network that way. Like to me, that's more fun than this Posh Fest stuff. Sorry, that's just my opinion on it. I don't see the value in it in the way that I've experienced in other avenues of learning.
Yeah, what you're able to gain. And I think that shows the difference between what we're wanting out of them versus what they're willing to give. We're wanting them to provide value for full-time sellers, but I still feel like they cater to part-time hobbyists that are just trying to clean out their closet and have a good time for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be social. There's the identity crisis, right, that Poshmark has had from day one. It's great to be social, and it's great to have all these fun, frilly things, but like, what value are you actually giving to me so that I can grow my business? And I think that's where the disconnect always happens there. Can I say, as someone who watched eBay open, that it was like the most amazing thing on the planet, and I learned so many things? It was good, but it wasn't like anything riveting. There were some really great presentations where people explained some things, and I did pick up a few tips, new things to do that I didn't think about. But for the most part, it was like, yeah, I already know all this stuff. YouTube is a great resource. So most of the stuff that I learned, if it's not on YouTube, I read it in a book from someone who does something completely different than reselling, but it applies to what I'm doing. So, don't feel like you missed out. Well, and let's talk about the features though.
Yeah, let's go over the features. That's for sure.
So we have the first one that I'm excited for. Instant payment. Give it to me. I am thrilled about this. I know people are like, yeah, but there's a fee. Okay, but if you get money in PayPal, there's a fee. So if the dollar amount is high enough and I'm only losing $2, I don't care. Give me my money. I don't care about that. I don't. What are your thoughts?
About the instant payout? Well, initially I wasn't there. Like I was watching the hackathon occurring on the Posh show initially. And
I'm sorry, that's funny to me that you were at Posh Fest and you were like, not going to the hackathon. Bye.
we got late. That is the one setback to not having your own rental car when you go. You kind of have to cater to everyone else that's going. But we tried to make it in time regardless. I didn't know. And so I was like, fill me in. Were they saying instant pay? Because in my brain, I was thinking Whatnot. Whatnot has established something where you finish a show, the minute you finish packing your orders, you get instant payout. That's where my brain went. So I was like, is that what they're doing?
No.
And they're like, no, it's like Mercari. And so I was like, the fact that they had to like, people were explaining to me by explaining another platform doing it, like they're late to the game. They need to be doing something like this like a hot minute ago. So that's my thoughts on that one.
But isn't it exciting to be able to get your money right away?
Oh, especially if people need it. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Like instead of waiting, because so my bank usually within 24 hours I get a payout, except if it's a Saturday or Sunday. Obviously, it would take a little bit longer, right? But I use my bank in particular within 24 hours I get it. But I know other people out there, their banks take 3 days sometimes.
Yeah.
Remember that time? Was that last year or the year before when Poshmark payouts for like a week were taking a week to get? That was awful. That was awful. Never want to experience that again. Next one we already talked about was live shows, which cool. They're out there. They're in beta. Don't get mad about them yet. They did update some things in live shows. Ashley, why don't you explain what they updated in live shows?
So one of the biggest frustrations for me, and so I'm really glad they already ruled it out, like brought it to the platform, is the store. So on Whatnot, you can go into someone's live and go, is there anything that's my size in this show? Is there any, and if there isn't anything you're interested in, you can bounce out of it. That was frustration for me as a seller, because I'm like, people don't have an hour to 2 hours to sit in a show. Not all the time, some might, but most people don't have that time to sit and wait, hoping that something's going to be their size. And like, if I'm doing a show like this, like I can't go through, this one's a small, a medium, like I got to flow. I got to keep going. And so I need to have a way for them to be able to see. So they now have it where people can go into the store, see what's there. Initially, it was just on the computer. Now, actually, if you update your app, they do have the store that you can take a look at from your phone. So I was excited that they were able to bring that out really quick.
Yep. There was something else though at live shows. Aren't the comments slower now? They've decreased the speed.
They decrease the speed, but the other thing is if I stop it and I go back up to try to see a comment, like I was trying to do that in my first show, and the minute someone would join, it'd be like, so-and-so's joined, it'd go shoon, and it would go all the way back up. So now if I hold it, or even if I stop to try to see a comment, it stays there. That was something I also was really happy about. They need to have mods though, because I can't keep up.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was something else I was going to say. For those that are interested in Posh shows and you're like, when is this going to get rolled out to everyone? My assumption, because again, no one could give me a straight answer, is I think they'll probably give it to people that are Posh ambassador too, because in my eyes, I'm like, you need a reason for that to be an incentive. And I don't think they're going to want to give it to everyone. If they do, it'll be a mess. But in beta, they're keeping it very tight based on the people that were at Posh Fest the year prior or the year after. If they did the Posh show workshop at Posh Fest, and once it's out of beta, they'll start to do different like rollout. So it's not like Whatnot where, because I've had a couple people say, can you recommend me? Like, can you, add me as a seller? And I'm like, that's not how this platform works.
Yeah,
so
it's different. They're going to have a structure to it. I'm going to tell you right now that Ambassador 2 thing is going to mean so much more with all of this coming out. It's going to mean way more.
Initially, they weren't thinking about our follower count meaning anything, but it was the girls that went to headquarters and did the Posh show that gave them a ton of feedback. And one of the biggest things was, you need to figure out a way that we can push to our followers and finally make this follower count make sense. And so they said, okay, we're interested. And even when I did the app me table, I was like, you guys are making us add listings. It'd be really good as you have like this drops, we can schedule listings on Poshmark. Instead of having this drops on such and such day, you should be able to have a banner that says, this will go live on this Posh show this day. And then if they were to click on the item and go in the description, there should be a button to bookmark that show. And one of the guys like told me, he was like, that is genius. They're like, can you write that down? Like, they were like, write that down. Like, what's your name? I was like, oh my God.
Sorry. These are people that work for Poshmark. Just gonna leave that there.
At least I'm listening to some of their users.
Can they hire us as contractors? Because I have plenty of things that I can help you.
You're like, let me just pull out my.
I got a whole scroll here. You gonna pay for me to come out there? I'll be there.
Uber dinner here.
for me to fly out and I'll come help you, okay? I'm not paying for my ticket to Cali. No, no.
Mhm.
The other thing was pinching a picture to fit into a square mode. That should have been a thing years ago. It's finally a thing. So if you have a portrait picture and you need to fit it in square mode, you don't have to worry about manipulating it in all different ways. You can just pinch it and it'll fit right into the square section that we have. I've done it. It works fine. No
Okay.
glitches or anything with that.
Okay.
So that's a nice thing. Saved search apparently is officially coming. I don't know. I'm gonna sure if they say
Hold
so.
your breath on that one.
Yeah, it's been a while and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And lastly, the probably most exciting thing for most people is that the algorithm is officially back to what it was before. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So
Well, I find it funny because this was the way, and I think I actually recorded it and I had posted it on the shows. Like I just happened to be like Manish like said one sentence and I started to record after that. But the way he said it, he was like almost like, let's get the elephant out of the room. The algorithm is a mess. We're aware of that. We should have done better with it. It's going to go back to normal. So let's not talk about, let's move on. Like that, it was very abrasive. It was very like, I mean, everyone was excited 100%. But now that they had the partnership, like, or this new like Stella, I'm like, but is it really? Like, was that your just like way of saying that really fast? Because this is supposed to be a search engine. Like, I don't know.
I
A piece of me
think
wants to read between the lines on that statement.
yeah, I think they reverted a lot of what they did. I don't think it went back 100% to the way that it was. I think they got rid of a lot of the things that we were seeing, the duplicate listings, the random things popping up when you're searching for a specific color and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think they took away a lot of that, what they built out that didn't work. I don't think it's 100% the way that it was before. I really don't think that's the case. I don't. I think they have a baseline that they're going to keep it at. And then this new company's going to come in and they specifically say in their buyout that it's going to be recommended search. So brace yourselves, people. If you didn't like recommended search, you're not going to like what's coming.
Yeah.
But recommended search is how most search engines work, based off of color, based off of what people are searching for. Maybe there'll be like a Google Lens thing. We don't know. I mean, we have no idea. There could be something like that coming.
Yeah, Amazon has something similar to that. You can take a picture and put it onto Amazon and have it do like a Google Lens thing, and it'll populate listings that say this is similar to what that picture is that you're trying to like inspire as a wardrobe. I could totally see Poshmark doing something like that. That would actually be really, really smart. But I think the search actually pushed people that weren't active on Poshmark
to become
and
active
I'm still
again.
hearing customers saying like, I bought something and nothing ever sold or nothing ever shipped. So I had to cancel the order. So they need to have something too, where if someone doesn't touch their listings for a long time or their account is like, hasn't been like logged in for a year, that they like put those items as not for sale, or kind of like what Mercari does where they, what is that? Like it expires, the listing expires because you never know. They might have redonated it at that point or just brought it to Goodwill or something.
Yeah. I see some people are agreeing here. I agree. I don't think it's back to what it used to be. No, I do think there has been an uptick, but I noticed that before Posh Fest. I noticed it about 2 weeks before. And I don't know if you noticed the same thing, Ashley, but like there was an uptick of activity. It felt like what Poshmark used to be. There was the daily sales again. It wasn't like you were hounding to try to get those sales. They were just kind of coming on their own. So I do think they already started to change things a few weeks in advance, which would make sense. And maybe they did the final rollout, or maybe they did us in phases like they did before. And like the final rollout was this weekend. Some elements I think are back and other elements I don't think are there. Leanna's also saying, I've noticed when searching comps within the past few days that results are much fewer than before. And that's a Google thing. So interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely an uptick the last few weeks. Yeah, I think it's been like over the course of the last month, there's been changes happening, and you either noticed it or you didn't notice it. It was you just thought Poshmark was being nice to you that week. But I do think that people are not going to like this from me. Sorry in advance. The algorithm that was in place did work for me. I didn't see any of the things that people were struggling with besides in July when everyone saw a drop in sales. But that was because what's been happening in the world. That was a very like universal thing.
Mhm.
Amazon saw it, Target saw it. So that wasn't specific to
Yeah.
resellers. I saw an uptick in sales when they changed everything.
Yes, you see.
So I know people aren't going to like that answer from me, but I think if you're good at SEO and pictures and stuff, it doesn't matter what search you're in.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what search is like, as long as you are doing all the things. I mean, it helps when it's shared base, but
well, and that will be the interesting thing, because if this search engine is going to be recommended and stuff
no
like
more
this,
sharing. Please say
yeah.
it. No more sharing.
I'm not saying anything, but like assumption wise, like the writing's on the wall. But at the same time, like, is that going to be a detriment to some people's businesses? Are people going to have to pivot their models? We're coming into a season with Poshmark right now where we're going to have to remove a lot of emotion and what's going to be in the best interest of business. Like, there was no hard feelings when I closed my Poshmark store at the start of the year. Like, it kind of hurt me, like that emotion side wanted to tug at that, but I was like, logically, it's not making sense for me to stay on this platform. I'm doing the same amount of effort every single month and I'm seeing a drop in sales. And I'm listing and I'm sharing and I'm like, what is going on? So like you said, it benefited you. It did not benefit me. And I started to pivot my business model because of that. I found a way to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think you're already seeing people on eBay pivot because eBay's changed a lot over the last year and models that were working before don't work anymore. And you're just seeing it transition over to all the platforms.
Right.
But yeah, that's it about Poshmark. We've been on here for an hour and 20 minutes, which is great. I mean, thank you for everyone who has stayed on. We hope you enjoyed this first episode, first session, I don't know. We'll come up with something as we go along.
We'll make sure to put all of our socials in the description as well. So if you are tuning into this after we were live, you can follow us there. And I would recommend, if you guys want us to talk about certain things, make sure you're commenting on this YouTube video. Try not to do it in our like Instagram messaging, because I know I'm starting to get a lot more floods of messages and they get lost. And I really try to keep up with it. But sometimes Instagram glitches too. So if you put it here, then we can take a look at it and brainstorm and figure out what we should do the following month. So each month we will come up with new segments to talk about.
Yep. Yeah, I am excited to continue on with this. I don't know what we're going to talk about next month. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that happen within the next 30 days.
Yeah, we won't expect the last 24 hours to happen the way it did.
Right? We'll see. Maybe we'll come back on halfway through the month because something crazy happens. You don't know. You're going to have to stay tuned. So make sure you subscribe to both of our channels, because this, the Buzz Session will be on both channels. Like I said, next time will be on Ashley's. And if no one has any questions or anything they want to add, we'll give you guys a couple of minutes to put anything in the chat. Hopefully you guys liked this. Did you like it? Can you at least tell us that you liked it or you didn't like it? That would be really helpful. Because if you didn't like it, we're just not going to do it again. That's a lie. We'll still do it.
I'm excited to bring on other people. And, kind of like what we were talking about before, we go to these conferences expecting to get a lot of information, and we're getting just a really snapshot to benefit our business. And so that's what we want to do here, is have topics that we can talk about to help you be more successful. And it probably is going to inadvertently do it for us as well. Like, we're going to grow as sellers, but we want no topics in the reseller community to not be talked about. We want to be able to go into some of those things that might not be considered. So that way you can feel good about your business and where you're headed. And, the things that we really want these platforms to do, we're going to be able to bring here and bring value for you guys.
Absolutely. Well, no one's saying anything. Oh, wait. Great. Lovely chat. Okay, great. Glad you guys liked it. Nothing was coming through for me and I don't know why. Now I see it. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys liked it. We are going to sign off here because it's 9:30 my time. So
I know it's a little late. Thank you.
It's fine. All right, everyone. Oh, love you two together. Great. I'm glad you guys listen, we can talk. Ashley and I can talk. So
it will be fun.
Ashley, I'm sure, has things to do, like shipping all of her sales that she made today.
I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff sold, so I need to start working on that.
All right, everyone. We will see you next month. Bye.
Bye.